Hey everyone, Logan Parks, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. We're out here on lovely Table Rock. I love this lake. I've got some great history out here. And crankbait is a great way to catch fish. There's a lot of different things when it comes to crankbait fishing, whether it's your retrieve, your color, your cadence, your line size, your crankbait depth. I mean, there's so many options. That's why I love crankbait fishing. Two crankbaits that I have in my boat all year long, Berkley Fritside and the Berkley Dime. The Fritside is one of my favorite crankbaits. Caught a ton of fish on it. It's a flat-sided crankbait, so it's more of a finessier crankbait, and it's a great bait to start out with. In the springtime, you catch a lot of big fish, especially big pre-spawn largemouth on the Fritside. It's a finesse crankbait, so I like to retrieve it fairly slow in the spring. You know, these fish are lethargic, they're cold, they're just kind of sitting there waiting for an opportunity to come by, and I like to mix my retrieve up. Sometimes I'll crank it a little bit faster, but usually typically that time of year fairly slow and mix in a few twitches here and there. Really doing the same thing with the dime. It's hard to beat the dime in the springtime. If you get around some riprap, get around a bridge, it's an excellent place to throw this bait because those fish are using that bridge, especially a bridge out in front of a big spawning area, as a highway, and they all have to travel underneath the same bridge. If you come across them, you can really get well quick on the Berkley Dime. I mean, both of these are some translucent colors. This is Ghost Morning Dawn, and it's a clear, pinkish hue. Looks just like a shad. And this is more of a kind of a clear crawfish. And the cool thing about these baits is they're balsa style imitation baits. You can actually achieve translucent colors through these plastic baits with the same action as the balsa style baits. So that's really why I love these baits. Another thing, these baits, they are very durable. I mean, balsa baits, they have a tendency to break very easily. You have to be pretty careful with them, and I'm still able to get that same action as a balsa bait, but it's a lot more durable. As the season progresses into the summer, temperatures get hot, the fish get deeper. I'll switch to a deeper dime, like the Dime 15, and I'm throwing that bait as far as I can, and I'm cranking it as hard as I can. And that's another great thing about both of these baits. They are balsa style baits, but the problem with those balsa wood baits is they can be really difficult to cast. And these baits, I can cast very far, no issues. In the summer, I pretty much put the Fritside down. I'm picking up the Dime 10, the Dime 15, and I'm cranking it as fast as humanly possible. The hotter it is, the faster I crank it. And you can get some really aggressive bites that time of year. There's one. Got him on the Dime, baby. It's a smallmouth. Oh, look, see right there? That tells me he's eating crawdaddies, and he's actually throwing up red. It's important to notice when you're flipping the fish in the boat, if they're throwing anything up or when you're grabbing them, look down in their throats and see if there's anything in there, that might give you a key, whether it's a crawfish pincher, a tail of a shad. A little chunky smallmouth on the Dime, but threw up red crawdaddy pieces. So we're gonna swap actually to the darker red Dime. Just pay attention on the water to what the fish are trying to tell you. Sometimes, if you see some fish up there and they're not just biting your traditional retrieve, I'll get it down there, get it on the bottom, and then just pause it, give it a couple twitches, really make it look like a crawfish kind of scurrying around on the bottom. There's one. Got him on that Ghost Red Craw. This is another great got a little rock ledge going down this bank. He's just sitting right off the edge of it. He wanted it too. A big thing is the transition from, one change of rock to another, or a change from rock to sand. Now we've got a bit of a transition point here. So we got steep bluff. It kind of filters into a more chunk rock point. Different things where the bank kind of switches up. So like right here, this is the juice here. So out there was a bluff wall, slate rock, and it's transitioned right here from that slate to a pea gravel and chunk rock bank. And as the fall progresses, you know, the fish like to start to move shallow again. They start to feed up on tiny bait. So I like, you know, Berkeley Fritzside that time of year, especially just the Fritzside 5. It's an excellent bait that mimics those tiny shad they're eating. The Fritzside is just a flat-sided crankbait. It's got a really thin profile and it's got a really tight wobble. So it's not kicking out way out like a typical square bill. It's just a real narrow, finessey wobble. And I really, really like this crankbait for September, October. It's still hot, it's tough. The fishing is, changing. Your lake might be turning over. Those fish, they don't always want the most obnoxious vibrating bait, especially if there's a lot of pressure. So another key thing about, cranking is your line size. I'll play with my line size a lot. Fritzside 5, it dives about 5 foot deep, and those fish will get up there in the dirt, and I don't need that crankbait to go 5 foot deep. And a lot of times I'm throwing it around some gnarly stuff like some trees and shallow rocks. So I'll actually go up to 15 or 17 pound line, and it'll only make that bait dive 1, 2, 3 foot deep. So you can still have the same action that you want out of the Fritzside 5 without it going 5 foot deep. And the same thing's to be said for the dime. Another big key when you're cranking these rocks, especially, check your hooks, check your line, because that sucker's down there eating those rocks. And you don't want to come across a big fish and not have retied recently and have some fray in your line, and it's a recipe for disaster. Swap your treble hooks on your crankbait, keep an eye on them, pay attention to what you're doing on the water, and make sure you land all the fish that bite. Keep all those things in mind when you're cranking. It's a very versatile technique. You can do it throughout the entire year, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's almost nothing better than getting locked up when you're cranking a crankbait back to the boat. Check out the Berkeley Dime, check out the Fritzside. They're two of my favorite crankbaits, and you can throw them all year long, and you can get them at Bass Pro Shops.